Hi everyone. Oh, what's this? I am in a familiar location. Yeah, we're currently in the middle of a bit of a heat wave at the moment. It's like 90 something degrees, and I'm in a freaking long sleeve shirt because apparently my thyroid is messed up, or according to Mark, anyways. Like you don't. What is wrong with you that the heat and the cold don't affect you the same way it affects us? Meh. No, I mean, yeah, I can feel the heat, and I am a little sweaty. Part my hair's wet because I got out of the shower, but I am a little, warm. But yeah, for some reason, I'm just not as I notice the heat, but I just don't I'm just not as encumbered by it as others are. Um, but that being said, no, why am I doing this video? Well, as you can see by the title, we had some updates, especially from Mark Rosewater, on the future of Magic. Metamorphosis 2.0 was the article. And I want to get to it now just because it would lose its poignancy a little bit later on. Yeah, so Mark Rosewater went over the stuff that they changed, what worked, what didn't work, what they're talking about improving, and what's the future looking like for Magic, what the foreseeable future of Magic is looking like in terms of setup and all that. Now, I heard some inklings about them maybe changing some things up again, but I didn't know they were going this far out with it. So now that we have it, let's go over the stuff that we know are going to change. And I'm going to go over the things that we actually already heard of before, like change 3. There's 5 major changes he has on here. For change 3, which is like different gatewatch. And now I'm going to go into stuff that I was legitimately surprised about. But yeah, change 3, as he put it, was a different approach to the Gatewatch. As we all know, he's getting a lot of feedback about the Gatewatch, and while we do enjoy having a central cast of characters to see, they've been using the cards too heavily. You don't always need a card of like we just had a Nissa, now we got another Nissa. While green blue Nissa is cool, and I'm glad we got a blue green X costing Planeswalker. When the Gatewatch actually did change the colors story wise, we don't actually always need that. So, and we don't need Gideon and Liliana again in all this, and it's too much. So basically, as he put it, they're significantly pulling back on how often the Gatewatch will appear as Planeswalker cards. It will still happen when the story calls for it, but far less often. For example, for all 2017 and 2018, only a handful of Planeswalker cards will be the Gatewatch members, and that's including Planeswalker decks where they'll appear only slightly more often. So that part I already knew. They were cutting back on the Planeswalkers. We're getting now more new Planeswalker characters and returning cast members. Like Vraska, from what I can understand, is going to show up in what's the name of that one? Ixalan or Izalan. Basically, the next set, next story, next 2-block set story block. So she's showing up. We know Johnny's going to be in there. We're pretty certain anyway. So, yeah, that we know that was happening. Their new plan is to continue to design flavorful story cards, but only push them for constructed when playtesting through playtesting we believe they'll lead better constructed environments. Now, I'm not, I'm a casual player, but the fact they're focusing mostly on constructed, and I've read through all of this today, they are focusing a lot on constructed now for the future blocks, because it seems to be one of the big formats, even though, like, Commander's still a really big one and all that, and Draft. That's fine, whatever. The Gatewatch are still going to be our protagonists, but every member will no longer show up in every block. Makes sense? And we may not even have some blocks where none of the Gatewatch appear, even though those blocks will be irrelevant to the larger story. Now that I find interesting, that we might actually legitimately get sets now where the Gatewatch just don't fucking appear. Like, period. End of story. I think that's actually pretty cool. And what's even cooler is the way that actually there's only 4 things because there's behind the scenes changes that will be relevant later down the line. And this actually makes sense the way that they're going about redesigning the model. Which let's break down how to redesign the model. Now we originally always had the 3 sets, 1 small, 2 big, or 1 big, 2 small sets. That wasn't working out for the longest time. And then we moved over to the 2 sets, 2 blocks a year format, which was working a lot better, but was still having some problems for their creative standards. Like the standard environment was like 6 months shorter, than they went back to the standard. I believe it was like 2-year standard block, and that just was making a mess of things because we now had multiple like Gideons and stuff in the format. So now there will no longer be small sets, and I'm reading this verbatim. In main releases, supplementary such as the Conspiracy may still be a smaller set. So like supplementary products might still be small sets. All main standard legal expansions will be large, and all of them will be drafted alone. From a design standpoint, each will have its own mechanical identity, although there's potential for small amount of overlap. So what they are legitimately saying is you are no longer getting, here is your block, here's your 2 block, here's your 2 block, here's your 1 big block. No, it's now, hey, this big set, this is a block. Hey, this big set, this is a block. Hey, this big set, this is a block. There is a fourth one we're going to get to, but that I find it because, well, let's continue. The reason for this is because from a creative standpoint, we plan to stay on Worlds for as many sets as it makes sense for the story. So that right there, that's really fascinating to me, because that in some sense says that maybe we could literally go to 3 worlds a year, or we might just stay on 1 block a year, or 1 world a year if the story is allowing for it. It's basically now the environment of the block, the story, the world of the block is now very much being dictated by the lore of the game, by the lore of the story. That is fascinating and interesting to me. I don't know if it'll work, but we can see if it'll work. If nothing else, they can change it back. They tried the new block out standard. They tried the 2 block standard out. It was kind of it was working better, but still wasn't working great. So they're going to try something new. If we stay on a world for more than 1 set, something about how the world is structured will let us have a delineation between the sets. Sometimes, but not all the times, we will have mechanical carryovers between the sets that share a world. For instance, under the new model, if we chose to stay on Kaladesh for 2 sets, we might have chosen to use RNG in both sets, most likely playing around in different design spaces, but the rest of the mechanics would have been unique to their set. Note that the sets that share a world won't necessarily overlap in any mechanics. This also means that we are essentially removing the concept of blocks. Sets will share worlds on occasions, but the present structure of blocking numbers of expansions being played together is no more. So while there are going to be occasions, so basically the way I explain it kind of isn't the way it is. We're no longer getting, I don't think we would see a world where it's 3 blocks like we did the original thing. At best, we're going to see a world that's, or two sets on 1 world. Most will see that, but they're still going to feel connected but mechanically different. That's the way they're explaining it. But this essentially means that we may very well see 3 worlds a year. And it also makes me wonder, because right now the standard big set's somewhere in the neighborhood of like 269 cards. But please remember, in the day, there was a time where a set being over 300 cards was not uncommon by any stretch of the means. So that is interesting to me how we're going to see that. So I think we might even see bigger, large sets, things along those lines. And then the second change, as it's listed on here, the summer set will be revamped core sets. The core sets are back, kind of, as they said it. As explained, when we got rid of the core sets, there's always an identity problem. Are there newer players or franchise players? We decided to err on the side of new players. Note, this doesn't mean we won't make some goodies for franchise players and aim for constructed play. Just whenever. Basically, they realized that a lot of people really liked the core sets. They were fun. They allowed for a lot of reprints, because when you reprint stuff, you only have so many reprints you can do in the new block, because you got to introduce new things. But a core set allows you to just do so many reprints and just a couple new things. But when you're a new player also, let's say you're a new player coming into Alma and Cat. Okay, I'm used to this Alma and Cat stuff. But then, you got this. Man, I really wish I had some of those old cards. They would have been great. And then you got these complications like multicolor or these new, just complicated mechanics sometimes. Whereas you go to a core set, you just got base red, white, green, blue, black. A couple multicolor cards just to give players that. Planeswalker cards, obviously. Some basic mechanics. They were the perfect sets to really introduce players. And unlike the main storyline sets, the main sets of the block, as they put it in here, you didn't have to go out and play in the core set or go play core set. They really were optional things. When you're playing the main sets, you really kind of feel obligated to go and get all the cards in those sets, or go and play those sets, because once you start playing, you want to finish out the story or finish out your run. But this time, you didn't have to do that. You didn't have to do that at all. So it really was. It's really fascinating to see them bringing the core set. I'm glad they're bringing the core sets back. I mean, as a casual player, I love any and all sets that really come out. I've gotten a little bit of everything since I really got into the game. Ever since I didn't really start getting into the game until around Rise of Eldrazi. That was the first pre-release I ever went to, Rise of Eldrazi. I still got my Emrakul from that, my Galani Hydra from that, wherever that's. So the 8 green mana Hydra that costs less for each green creature. I've still got quite a few cards from that. I think I had a level up deck at one point, or I could easily make a level up deck. Anyway, yeah, so yeah, that was my first pre-release experience, and I've been playing the game ever since. Now I had some cards back from like the Onslaught Apocalypse days, but yeah, I didn't really get into the game at that point. So anyway, so that's another big one that the core set's pretty much returned. The revamp, they're going to be designed a little differently. We'll see how they play out. Last but not least, the Masterpiece series will be reverted to being in fewer sets. They just need more work on making the Masterpiece, marketing them properly. We're going to do them when they can do something amazing with them. So like, and then as they explained, with Battle for Zendikar, the Expedition lands were amazing. With Kaladesh, they were good, they were cool, but not quite the same. With Amonkhet, they're cool, but they just didn't pop the same way without really being involved with the lore of this plane. So yeah, like then for example, they say our Devastation will still have invocations, but Exelan, I think I'm pronouncing that right, will not have masterpieces. So yeah, they'll do it when they feel it's prevalent and necessary, and they think they got a cool idea. But until then, they are gonna hold off and work on them a little harder. So yeah, I just want to talk about that because I was legitimately surprised. I'm like, because we're doing stuff online. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot to check any Magic articles. Rosewater always has one on Monday, and I'm looking like changes. Okay, what's going on? And I'm looking at articles like, oh, some shit's really happening. So yeah, this is cool. I'm kind of excited for this. So now the whole change in structure won't happen until Ixalan's 2 blocks will cycle through. So it's not going to change until after that. After that, we're going to get a core set, and then we're going to go into the new format. So we'll see how that plays out. Should be fun. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. As those who want to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review of it at some point. Ideas are who to win, Star Wars, superhero, what if, Magic, anything I do on the channel, put in the comments below. Let me know. I'll do a review of it at some point. I got a who would win on Wednesday. I got Cars 3 or something. I got something on Thursday because I'm probably going to see 2 movies this week. And I got, you know what? This is going to be Magic. So I don't have a Magic video on Thursday now. So now I'm going to just have my what if on Thursday. So yeah, stay tuned for that. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and see you next time.